music. My Bubba's playing music. I'm sorry if you guys can hear it. I'll try to speak louder than the music so you won't hear it, okay? Now, we already spoke about this. We need to talk about...
Okay, so today I will be talking about, I'll do a reaction video to a woman who says that women should not have the right to vote, and she will explain her reasons why. Here we go.
Why I think women should not be allowed to vote in America. And the music stopped. So the reasons are not in order. Don't think that just because I listed this reason first, that that's the most important. There is no order. These are just the way that the reasons came to my head. And because I don't have a script, I don't have anything to look at when I'm doing my videos. I'm just talking from my brain to your brain. We are connecting brains. I can already feel the laser beams pointing at my head right now because of what I'm going to talk about. And I don't want you to feel offended, but I don't really give a fuck. The first reason that I can think of right now of why I don't think women are they should be allowed to vote in America is this. You have already mentioned it. Women are emotionally unstable. And I don't mean women as in they, I mean we. I have to include myself, of course. I am a woman. And of course, I'm not the know world, as MGTOWs call it. MGTOWs call it. But exactly, I understand. We women are not emotionally stable. The reason I say this is because, look, something that may make sense emotionally cannot make sense logically. So a prime example will be this. I believe it's like something like 85% of women are Democrats, which is insane. I'm talking about women. I'm basically talking about Democrats at this point. Democrats, especially politicians, when they talk, they are basically talking to the women. They are talking to the emotional vulnerabilities of women.
That is true. That is true, because they don't really talk about logic. It's always some feeling stuff. Always when it came to immigration, it's always feelings. Oh, these poor people coming to America. Never mind the fact they're coming here illegally. Never mind the fact that some of these people are criminals or belong to gangs. Let's keep going.
Do is talk about something in an emotional way in order to make that woman start getting in her feet. And it's easy to do. Prime example, illegal immigrants coming here and getting free health care. Democrats are promising illegals that they will get free health care. Now, I was talking to a woman and she says, well, Amira, aren't you American? You don't care about immigrants coming here? America was founded by immigrants. First of all, I don't call them immigrants, I call them illegals. And words have meaning, people. Words matter. Do you see the word difference between me and a Democrat woman? Words matter, first of all. And the fact that she says that America was founded on immigrants, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because back when the country was founded, there was no country to come to. This country was founded by settlers that, you know what? That's a whole nother video that we can, if you guys...
Here's the thing when she says that. People try to say that there was no land to come to, but there was Native Americans there. And they had a culture, they had a way of doing things and everything. Immigrants did come over here. The Chinese, the blacks were taken here by force. Yeah, they were used to build things. So, yeah, America was built off the backs of immigrants. Okay. Wasn't illegal immigrants, but it was built off the backs of immigrants.
There's one, leave it down in the description. We'll make that video about how America was founded and how America is not a racist country. Yes, it was founded.
Whoa. I'm going to have a bone of contention with this woman. For the fact of the matter is, yeah, there's a system of white supremacy in place. It doesn't mean that other ethnic groups can't rise above it. But yeah, we have racism in this country. You have the white supremacists, you have Nazis, you have KKK, and people will try to say racism doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Okay, you have white supremacist groups, white terrorist groups. You have white supremacy in the police department. Okay, you have uh the executioners, you have the banditos, you have the wayside whiteys. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about white supremacist gangs in the LA Sheriff's Deputy Department. Okay, who beat up a black motorist who was doing nothing wrong, beat him to the point where he lost vision in one of his eyes. Okay. No, she's wrong, and she's very wrong and very uninformed in that regard.
Well, racism was active, more active than what it is now, but still.
I just said it is more active. It is, oh, it is very active. Yeah.
Go back to the topic. They feel superior if they feel that they are doing the moral thing. But the moral thing, which they think is not right for America. It's not in America's best interest. Now, because you think that you're helping these people. So what this woman said to me, these are almost the exact words. I don't have exactly the transcript, of course.
Oh, I almost forgot. Ahmaud Arbery. Yeah, America's not racist as it is now. Ahmaud Arbery, Elijah McClain. Willie McCoy. Right. Yeah.
But what she said to me was this.
I feel bad that these people are having to come here illegally. It is unfair that this was their only option, is to come here, and it's really messed up. And again, unfair. It's inequality when America treats them like criminals and pushes them back outside of the country.
My response is always this. What is a criminal? A person that breaks the law, right? Isn't the law that you have to ask permission to come into a country and you have to go through certain steps in order to get there? What about all those people that are actually waiting in line patiently with their paperwork? Because what I see right now in my head is a door, and that's America. And there's people standing at the door with their paperwork ready, stamped, and approved, and they're waiting there to get in. And then there's other people coming in and cutting them off, no paperwork, no stamps of approval, and just walking on in. That's what I see in my head. Is that fair? What she'll say is, it's unfair that America treats them like this and kicks them out. My voice is saying this. It's not unfair because it's unfair for Americans to have to pay for people that we have not counted for. These people have not been counted in the list of Americans. So that means.
Okay, well, she's gonna have a point there because sometimes women, they do go with their emotions. When you come with certain situations like this, where it comes like there is no emotion here. This is like, okay, we have homeless people here in America, yet all of a sudden we have illegal immigrants coming here, and that's not right. Now, for the instance where, okay, the Haitians, right, they're coming over here illegally. I understand that. What I also have a problem with, and sometimes you will have women, yeah, they do think with emotion more than logic. And you probably will have women thinking about, oh, well, the Afghans should come over. Afghans are, you have Afghan refugees molesting minors and abusing women. And that's part of their culture to do that. But you don't see feminists saying anything about that. And unfortunately, yeah, women do tend to go with the emotional route, never seeing the full picture. So I will say something about that. Yeah. And could women be majority Democrats? Well, I will get to that after this video is done. Let's keep going.
By us giving to them, that means we're taking from another American that could have had that has been counted for. That American that was actually counted for will now go without because we gave to someone that cut the line. This is what I mean. You see that women, they don't think logically, and this is affecting our country. Now, how does that affect us during voting season? It affects us because instead of women being, instead of women being empowered by through knowledge and logic, we seem to be empowered by emotion and correctness and morality, and that is no way to run a country. there are laws and there are steps and processes that we need to go through in order to ensure that everyone gets their slice of the pie. And that's not the way to do it. That's one step. And the other step is because I believe, I know, forgive me you guys, because I've been talking quite a bit today, and now my voice is rather dry. So the next reason I believe that women should not vote is this: women are selfish. I can already hear the screeches. I know. Hear me out. Women are naturally inclined to get resources. This is our innate thing inside of us. We need, I know there's a bird singing, guys, I'm sorry. This is our innate feeling that we need, right? Now hear me out. This is the reason why all the commercials that you see on TV are geared to women, because they know women are the ones that are going to be easier to influence to spend their money. They know that. Everybody knows that, especially business owners. The reason that is because women will go out and get one thing in every color, every texture, every pattern, everything. Why? Because women, we need resources, and we don't feel okay unless we have resources. This is why women tend to marry men that have a lot of resources. Now, resources doesn't have to be just money. Even a man that has a lot of contacts, a lot of connects, like good connects, not just people that don't have anything. A man that has good connects and such, that is a man with resources. So this is why women are always looking for men with resources, because this is what we need. And that is a little bit selfish. You have to admit that is slightly selfish. I think it's something like 80%.
It is selfish, but it's also a survival mechanism. And I think that's what feminism takes away from women, is the survival mechanism to be put in the right place, to date a man with resources, to be with a man with resources, and to stay with him instead of just, getting resources and just going from one person to the next. And she's right. Yeah, they're selfish to that point. But that part right there, I could see is understandable.
Of welfare recipients are women, which makes sense because women are usually the ones that have children. But when you have a person that is about to vote, who is about to vote for our country, do you think that that person is going to vote in the best interest of the country or the best interest of themselves? Even the bird said it. It's the best interest of themselves.
Well, that's basically it. I mean, aside from the fact that she doesn't think racism is bad, um, isn't bad is okay. When she says racism is not bad as it is now, well, yeah, it's kind of like the way I'm getting from it. She does is not a racist country. I'm sorry, it is. Other than that, I'm starting to agree with a lot of her points. Okay, and women tend to be selfish. They do, and unless they have a strong father figure to check them, it's gonna go unchecked.
This is not a way to have a voting process, because when you have people like this, it is very easy to influence them to vote a certain way, because you can promise them things that are going to be either free, either just for them. So this is where we have a balance of like rights and responsibilities. These are things that need to be balanced. Now, a woman in her natural self needing resources is naturally balanced with a man that is logical. It all makes sense when we are together. And that brings up my next point. My next reason why I think that women should not be able to vote is because men, so let's say we should be married, but a lot of us are not. When you're married, you have your husband and your wife in the home. When we have a married couple, we are supposed to speak as one, right? Stay with me, guys. We're supposed to speak as one. So that means in the house, the man and the woman come to a conclusion on something, and they agree, and that's the image that they present to the outside world. After the 2016 election, a lot of people actually divorced because of their partner's decisions in voting. If we had a situation where the man votes for the household, it would be better. Hold on, because of this. When you have people that are voting contrary to each other or opposite of each other, it creates a tension in the household, and that's what causes those divorces to happen. Now you have the man that doesn't feel like he is in a unit with his family because his woman is voting against him. Everybody put their vote out, and the person who wins on election night is the winner, no, in the household, which is very strange. Instead of it being a situation where me and my husband agreed that we're going to vote for such and such, it's such a situation where I voted for her, he voted for him, and he won. So now I'm going to use myself. Now, me as a wife, I'm going to be a bitch for 48 years. And that's what's been happening with families. This is a very bad situation. I believe that we should vote together. And women like to argue that men do not know the needs of women. This is why they want women in office. I beg to differ. And I will explain why. Everything that we women have has been made by a man. Everything, like the dishwasher that you have, the washing machine for your clothes, and the dryers, and everything, even down to birth control, has been made by men. Now, these are things that they're not actually used by men mostly. They're used by women. So,
and women still complain about why they shouldn't use the birth control, yet they're the ones who have the equipment to get pregnant, and they're the ones that are the receivers. Instead of thinking in their best interest to use the birth control or just get married, they choose rather to be single mothers and ruin their lives in the process. And then complain men ain't ish. But it's the man that you opened your legs to, that you sucked off, that wasn't ish. I'm starting to like the things she's saying, because she, aside from what I just told you, she's actually making a lot of sense. And unfortunately, a lot of Western women, modern women, are not going to agree to it, especially Black women are not going to agree to it, because they like to have their cake and eat it too, want to have a 1950s man, but they want to be a whore at the same time be a respectable woman. It doesn't work that way. Let's keep going.
So these were men making things that will make the woman's life easier. Does that make sense? So for you to say that men do not know how to think for women, or do not make situations or make decisions that are beneficial for women, is wrong. This is completely wrong and completely backwards. Men, in fact, care more for women when they know that the woman is depending on them. They know that this is their woman and this is their responsibility. They care for them even more. So I can't agree with women when they say, well, if we don't vote, then we're not going to have our needs met. That is completely untrue, because men are naturally inclined to take care of us, and they invent things for us, especially things like birth control. A man invented birth control for women, so she didn't have to struggle with this, having a baby every 9 months. He did that for us. And lastly, the last reason is because of taxes. They say women don't pay as much taxes. So if we were to make a rule that says that only taxpayers are allowed to vote, a good chunk of women are going to be out of that group. And that's a way of doing it without being misogynistic, without being like, oh, women can't vote. This is a way that you can do it without actually saying, I don't want women to vote, but you'll, in the end, you'll end up getting what you desire. That is a more likely situation to happen in the future, because just saying women can't vote is not very acceptable right now in culture, especially because people are so sensitive and they don't want to hear that. But I tell you what, my closing statement is this: I vote conservative. I vote mostly with men and how my husband votes. So for me, I had to lose my vote because I understand that women are not voting responsibly or they're not voting intelligently. I wouldn't mind having to lose my vote for the betterment of our country. If that makes our country better, is that no woman can vote, like I said, I will do anything to keep this train that we have here in America going. To keep this train rolling, I would sacrifice my vote. I would.
Damn.
Because we have way too many people making decisions that are only for their own betterment instead of the betterment of the country. And I don't I see this myself, and it's very selfish just to think like, oh well, I don't care if it's not for the betterment, or some people vote like this or some people vote like that. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm not like that, and I completely think that we should do what's better for the country. So these are my views. I know this video is a little bit long, so I'll let you guys go. And thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.
Okay, so let's go on to the facts. All right. Okay. All right, cool. We're here. All right. So it says this article right here from the Gallup. It is from June 12th, 2009. Women more likely to be Democrats regardless of age. Women from 18 to 85 are more Democratic than men of the same age. Princeton, New Jersey, a new Gallup analysis of almost 150,000 interviews conducted from January through May of this year sheds new light on the substantial gender gap that exists in American politics today. Not only are women significantly more likely than men to identify as Democrats and less likely to identify as independents, but with only slight variation, this gap is evident across all ages from 18 to 85 and within all major racial, ethnic, and marital status segments of society. A recent Gallup poll analysis confirmed the existence of fundamental gender gap in American political party identification today, although the exact nature of that gap has varied over recent years. The major distinction in the political party identification today seems to revolve around the percentage of each gender who identify as Democrats versus independents. Men and women have been similar in terms of identification with the Republican Party this year. In the current analysis of 149 to 192 Gallup poll daily tracking the interviews conducted in January through May of this year, 41% of women identify as Democrats, some 9 points higher than the 32% of men who identify as Democrats. The 34% of men in this sample who are independents can be contrasted with the smaller 26% of women who are independents. There is little difference by gender in terms of identification, as Republicans, 28% of men are Republicans compared to 25% of women. Overall, the data confirm that men currently have much more even distribution of party identification than do women. The range across the three party groups of men is just 6 points from a low 28% identifying as Republicans to a high of 34% identifying as independents. On the other hand, the range for women is much larger, 16 points from 25% Republicans to 41% Democrat. The age factor. Previous Gallup research has shown significant variations in party identification across age groups in the American population. Baby boomers aged 45 to 63 are more likely than average to identify as Democrats, as are younger Americans in Generation Y, age 18 to 29, while Generation X, age 30 to 44, as well as older Americans, are somewhat more Republican in orientation. The new Gallup analysis importantly shows the persistence of a gender gap not only within each of these broad age groups, but at every age from 18 to 85, even as the overall party identification patterns shift across the age spectrum. The accompanying chart displays the partisanship gap for men and for women at each age. The broad trends certainly document that the fact that Democrat over Republican advantage varies across age gaps. Democrats have their greatest advantage among baby boomers and the very young, and are weakest, relatively speaking, among those in their late 30s and in their mid to late 60s. The key point for the current analysis, however, is that these variations occur among both men and women. There is, as noted, a gender gap in this partisan orientation measure at every age point from 18 to 85. Three additional charts display the gender differences in the percentages identifying as Republicans, independents, and Democrats across all age groups. The gender gap is largest in terms of Democratic and independent identification, and the smallest for the percentage identifying as Republicans, but for the most part, a gender gap exists for every age in terms of each of these three partisan groups. Racial and ethical groups. There are well-known and significant differences in the patterns of partisan identification across major racial and ethnic groups. Blacks and Asians are more democratic in orientation than are whites. Blacks much more so. But within each of these three groups, women are more democratic than men. Overall, Hispanics of any race are more democratic than non-Hispanics, but Hispanic women are more democratic in orientation than Hispanic men, and non-Hispanic women are more democratic than non-Hispanic men. Marital status. There are also significant differences in democratic orientation within segments of Americans based on their marital status. In general, Americans who are living with a domestic partner, those who are separated but not divorced, and those who are single are more democratic than others. Married Americans are least likely to be Democrats. But as was the case for racial and ethnic groups, the data show a gender gap within each of these groups. Single women are more democratic than single men. Married women are more democratic than married men, and divorced women are more democratic than divorced men, and so forth. Implications. Although the existence of a gender gap in American politics have been well established, the very large sample sizes available with Gallup poll daily tracking allow for more detailed than normal examination of the nature of gender differences. The remarkable findings is that women of all ages are more democratic in orientation than are men of the same ages, and that women of all ages are less likely than men of the same ages to be independent. The differences by age in the percentage identifying as Republican are much smaller. This means that whatever forces are at work and that determine party identification in America today, socialization, cultural patterns, social position, social status, and life orientation are already in place by the time young men and women reach the age of 18. And these same patterns seem to have affected or are currently affecting men and women in their 80s in a similar fashion. The fact that the gender gap persists not only across age groups, but within major racial, ethnic, and marital status groups reinforces the conclusion that a gender difference in political orientation is a fundamental part of today's American political and social scene. I'll put the link in the description box so you can read the rest. But that's basically it right here. So yeah, I mean, she does have a point when it's like most women are Democrat. They do vote Democrat. Okay. That's what they do. So, all right. Sunflowers entered the video. Let's see if she wants to talk. Let's see. Guess not. Do you want to talk, Sunflower? See if she wants to come up. See if she wants to come up. See, new message. I guess not. Let's see here. All right. So she's not wanting to come up. She's a little shy. All right, guys. So I am going to end the live right now. Okay. Later. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.